Any good, true professional carpet cleaner understands the importance of having your rinse system working properly inside of your truck mount. Why is that? Because we know with carpets, some of them have bad odors. You basically want to be on the acid side, or of course, if you want to bring the pH back to neutral, that's important to have this working. Also, if you got really oily carpets and are in really bad shape, super nasty, then you want to move over to either a neutral or a higher alkaline to go ahead and get the job done properly. The problem is sometimes these systems don't work because they're a little bit finicky or because of operator errors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the time right now, show you how to troubleshoot it and how to fix it. Take a look. Okay, in my experience, I found there's usually 4 causes of your chemical feed system not working properly. The first 3 rarely happen, but it does happen, so you want to pay attention to those. The last one almost always happens and is generally operator error. Let's go through them. Number 1 is your flow meter glass could be broken. You might have hit it might have froze, might have a crack in it. Remember, there's hoses and stuff that go through this system, and any air that gets inside this system, it's kind of like sucking water through a straw. It's got a hole in the side of the straw. You don't get as much up, so this little ball doesn't move properly up and down. That leads us to number 2. So when you're testing it in your prime position, this little ball here should fly all the way to the top and should be working properly, okay? So that means it's priming properly. Now this valve could fail, and if that's bad, that would be a problem. Number 3, it could be the hoses coming from here down to your pressure regulator or going down into your tanks. I like to run 2 tanks. I know a lot of guys run 1. I like running 2, so I've got acidic on one side and I've got alkaline on the other side, so that way any type of situation I run into, I've got it taken care of. But here's the number 1 reason it generally happens, is because of diaphragm failure. If you notice these 2 diaphragms, this is a new one, this is a used one. Look at the damage that's been done around there. And that's for several reasons, because you have dissimilar heat. You got hot and cold on one side or the other, or maybe you're using some really bad chemistry that doesn't have a softener in it. Maybe it's got sodium hydroxide. There's a lot of companies take a lot of shortcuts, but the number 1 reason is because the guys will let their tanks run empty, and it gets in there and starts pounding it and it starts driving holes through it. Or they leave their pressure up way too high when they're cleaning, after cleaning tile and grout. So try to keep your pressure down as often as possible and make sure you don't let these tanks run out. Now I'm going to show you how to go ahead and replace this. Okay, here's a little tip. All the points that I mentioned earlier, they all apply towards carpets. But when it comes to upholstery, sometimes you can't get the proper amount of dilution or concentration coming out of it. So I'm going to show you 3 ways to solve that. All right, the first and the easiest thing to do probably is go ahead and raise your concentration level, whether you're using an acid or using an alkaline, in your 2.5 gallon jugs or your 5 gallon jug, and cut up your meter to a higher number. Okay, the second one is you can use a courtesy hose. Of course, make sure you check your local state and law regulations before you do this, but you can go ahead and attach this to the front of your solution output and go ahead and put your solution line here, turn this little ball valve on, and you can start let it draining down towards the ground right there, and that way you can go ahead and meter it properly and it'll have the proper draw. The third way is you can go ahead and use a splitter for solution lines. Go ahead and hook that to your solution output, put on a short line here, and some guys will actually run it to their fresh water tank. Just make sure you have some water in your fresh water tank because you don't want to get too hot going through your cat pump. On top of it, don't forget, if you're using the courtesy hose or using the splitter, this can be very high temps because it's so close to the heat exchanger, so use caution. Okay, remember there's many different types of truck mounts and brands out there, so your system might vary a little bit, so check your instruction manual to find the plumbing for your system in particular. However, the same principle with the diaphragm is generally all the same on all the truck mounts. Just locate it, do your troubleshooting, and you can get the problem solved. One last point I'd like to mention, some truck mount manufacturers actually add a pulsation dampener, and what that does is it lessens the hit on the diaphragm. So I recommend if yours doesn't have it, go ahead and add it to it and make sure the one you have is functioning properly. Well, I'm Rob Allen with TruckMountForums. I hope you enjoyed this instructional video. We're always here. Remember, we're a family business and we're helping your family to be more successful. And we also operate on the law of reciprocity. I believe if I help you become successful, you'll help me. So thank you for using our supply store, tmfshop.net. And also, if you would, take the time and go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook or our forum and our groups, or on Instagram, or also on TikTok. Thanks a lot and have yourself a great day.